Him and Loblaws are planning on getting rid of their 50% off discount on nearly expiring food. Well, Galen Weston and Loblaws are bringing back the 50% off discount for nearly expired items. Now, as somebody who currently works in retail, I'm not too surprised by them saying that they're going to need a few weeks to bring back the stickers. Chances are, as a company, they already stopped shipping these labels to their stores, so they're most likely going to have to just re-add them in the orders, and those orders aren't going to be coming in until like a week or two later. Now, don't get me wrong, I still can't afford to shop at Loblaws, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you excited that they're bringing back the stickers? Are you disappointed that they're bringing back the stickers? Did you not know this was going on at all? Did you hear about the Canadian Amazon worker who after standing outside in minus 25 degrees weather? This happened in London, Ontario after following fire instructions. Some reports are saying that they were only outside for 15 minutes and others are saying that they were outside for longer. Regardless, they were sitting out there in minus 25 degrees Celsius. That would be minus 13 in Fahrenheit. The article reads, "It's not clear whether or not any other employees required medical attention, including for cold-related illness." Workers were provided with warm weather kits when they were evacuated and were encouraged to warm up in the break room after. The kits contained a knit cap, socks, knit gloves, a mylar blanket, and hand warmers. These will not protect you in minus 25 weather. They were made to sit outside during a fire alarm, which means they were probably not wearing a coat, and apparently Amazon did not let them sit in their cars and warm up. I posted a video earlier today talking about the Amazon employee who unfortunately died after a fire alarm in London, Ontario. And this comment reads, "He had a couple of hours. One thing doesn't have to do with another all the time. As someone who works in a factory around London, yes, you can grab your jacket going out for a fire alarm." So I used to work in manufacturing, and I can tell you those facilities are very cold. And when there's a fire alarm going off, sometimes people panic and they just end up outside. And I would also like to remind people that cold will unalive you. I'm not joking. Being outside in the cold will unalive you. Hypothermia can set in within 10 minutes, and like it says down here, can occur in under an hour in extremely cold conditions. Yes, obviously one thing doesn't lead to another. However, the cold will unalive you. If you are not prepared, you will be unalived in the cold.
According to a report from Daily Bread Food Bank, 1 in 10 people in Toronto rely on food bank.
Did you know that more than 1/3 of food bank users are actually children? And did you also know that in spite of Canada being the only G7 country without a national school food program, PP and a bunch of his conservative goons decided to vote against giving children free food? I repeat, the guy who is literally always complaining that JT is making Canada way too expensive for families and is actively killing the middle class, is actively working against hungry children and making it so that they don't get a freaking free meal at school. Now, I shouldn't have to tell you how sad this is, especially since experts say that giving children adequate meals at school will actually help them learn. But no, Pierre and his conservative friends don't see it that way. Because when push comes to shove, instead of actually doing something that will help Canadians, conservatives will always do the opposite. It really makes you wonder what he thinks common sense is, huh?
We need a common sense conservative prime minister who will axe the tax to bring home lower prices, cap spending, and cut waste to balance the budget, bringing down inflation and interest rates, lower income taxes so people bring home more powerful paychecks and hard work pays off, that we link federal infrastructure dollars for each city to the number of homes they allow to get built, so that we reward those who get out of the way and let builders build, and penalize those that block new construction. We need to sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of federal land to build, build, build. We want those homes to be in safe neighborhoods. So we need jail and not bail, jail and not bail, jail and not bail for repeat violent offenders and other criminals who have terrorized our streets. We need treatment, not decriminalize crack and heroin, to bring order and safety to our communities. And we need a prime minister that puts the people ahead of the government. That is the common sense.
When the conservatives talk about children, what they don't tell you is that they're coming for your kid. They're coming to hurt your kid, to cut services for your kid. They just don't.
So this comment reads, he voted against program to study food in schools. The program provided no food. I'm not trying to be that guy, but they literally said that they voted against the framework to making a national school food program. Semantics aside, I really wanted to actually focus on how this historically tracks with conservatives, especially conservatives who take pride in the fact that they used to work with Stephen Harper. Which, if we hop in our time machines and go all the way back to 2013, Toronto Sun was complaining about 8 years of Harper, how he created a leaner, meaner Canada. A Canada that worked against poor seniors, the unemployed, and the low income. Or we can hop in our time machine into this Vice article. Another article talking about Stephen Harper and how he's horrible and took services away from Canadians and didn't provide food for poor Canadians. And as one of those low income kids who survived the Harper era, I don't want to see other kids go through what I went through. How about you? So the other day, I was planning on doing a deeper dive on this article here, talking about how it's inefficient to be linking immigration with housing shortages, until the Liberal government decided to do all this. So back to the first article now. This article starts by talking about how immigration isn't the only thing that's straining the housing market in Canada. There's also high interest rates, building costs, municipal red tape. There's a bunch of other things that is contributing to the housing crisis. Polchensky, a professor at the University of Toronto, says, also important to distinguish between households and homes, because the 40 million people in Canada don't live in 40 million homes. Canadian households average at about 2.4 people. In Germany, it's just about 2.14 people, while in Ireland, it's 2.73 people per household. By that measure, 500,000 immigrants would need 204,000 homes in Canada. And I will be covering this in part 2. Welcome to part 2. Now we're going to take a deeper dive into the news that came out on Monday, where Immigration Minister Mark Miller announced a temporary cap that will reduce the number of new students' visas by 35%. The number of new visas will be capped at 364,000, a 35% decrease in the amount of visas issued last year. Universities Canada said that this is going to add stress to an already stressed system. A spokeswoman from the Migrant Workers Alliance says that immigrants are being scapegoated for the affordability issue, while the changes won't protect international students from abuse. On the Government of Canada website, not only does it go through the full quote by Miller, it also gives out point form information about this cap as well. I will move myself out of the equation so you can read through these. I think it's really important for people to have this information. Again, this information was provided by Canada.ca, the Government of Canada website. Personally, I believe this is a low blow for our federal government, and I wish they would stop using immigrants as scapegoats. I don't normally look at my comments on YouTube, but I decided to. And I found this one comment that was really funny, and I don't want to make a full video about it, so I'm just going to do a story here. And the comment reads, the already stressed housing situation is not going to accommodate more people without some remedy. How does this reporter see immigrants as scapegoated? Where does she think they fit in the hierarchy? Newcomers are tagged last tier, no? Or in our wokeness, have we dispensed with hierarchies together? Full. I'm looking forward to part 2 to find out what they have been replaced with. This guy's commenting on part 2, by the way. But isn't that the most Jordan Peterson thing you've ever read in your entire life? Do appreciate the boost, though. Guess he didn't go to bed till 6 in the morning. They're doing a video laying down. I'm sure by now we've all seen this video. You know, this one. Did any of you notice this guy right here? Why is he trying to touch people? I just don't understand why this guy had to put his hands on him. Did he want to feel included? I don't get it. I've seen this video a few times on my For You page. Why do you gotta put your hands on people?
What happened to hello? How are you? My name is. What happened to that?
So the first thing I saw on Instagram this morning was this post by PP, and the caption says, who would have imagined this in Canada after 8 years of Trudeau doubling housing costs and driving up inflation with his taxes and spending? People must abandon puppies they can no longer afford to feed. I went through the comments too, and there was a lot of people in there going, oh my god, people can't afford to feed their dogs. Oh my god, my dog food went up by $10. Which is so weird considering that that's the private companies doing upcharging you. I also looked up the article that he used. So it was one paragraph long. It reads, animal shelters across the country are struggling to find homes for a growing number of abandoned puppies. The underground breeding industry took off during the pandemic. So not even pets, they're from a puppy mill. But that doesn't matter when he's trying to get votes, right? drying my nails right now, but I wanted to take a minute to talk about the duet that I just made. So I was duetting a person who was making a video reply to one of my comments talking about how I think it's funny that in Canada, a lot of people don't know that we have freedom of expression and not freedom of speech. Very common misconception in Canada, especially because a lot of people up here do consume a lot of American media and American content. And people thinking that we have freedom of speech instead of freedom of expression is just the consequence of people consuming that media. Of course, in my day-to-day, I'm going to choose my battles, and I'm not going to judge people for saying that we have freedom of speech instead of freedom of expression. However, when it comes to political discourse online, I do think it's really important for people to use the correct language and for others to correct people who aren't using the correct language. Because a lot of young people today are learning about our politics for the first time through this political discourse online. And in my opinion, we're just doing a disservice to those people if we aren't using the correct language and teaching them what their rights are.